I am a world traveler. I've been all around the world. I've been around the world now 2.5 times. This summer would have made my third and a half time because I would have did a full circle again this summer going into the fall. Unfortunately, we had COVID-19, which canceled all of my trips up until now. There was one trip that I'm looking forward to taking in August, which would be a trip to Egypt, and taking a very small amount of people there with me in August. As far as we know right now, we got to see how this thing. It's a very fluid situation. We got to see what happens on a day-by-day basis. But this is me standing in the King's Chamber and also standing in front of the Great Pyramid at Giza. The King's Chamber is really an amazing place. Now, the Grand Gallery leading up to the King's Chamber is 299,792, 458 meters per second, which is the speed of light. It matches the actual what do you call it? The longitude of the Grand Gallery, which is 29.9792458 north. So what's interesting is the actual location of the Grand Gallery inside the Great Pyramid is the exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second. And people say, well, meters per second, meters didn't exist until the 1960s. And actually not. We discovered Proto-Sumerian cuneiform writing, we meaning mainstream archaeology, and is documented and in museums that have the metric system built into them in their counting, in their calculating system. So we have a proto metric system in the Sumerian cuneiform discovered in where? In South America. So, this is incredible stuff. And so every day more information gets released that lets us know that there's a much bigger picture here, and we're dealing with a global civilization. So, today's talk is primarily about, obviously, the Atlanteans, which are really these Anunnaki people. Anunnaki is a umbrella term for people who come from heaven to earth or from space to earth. And it doesn't matter what planet they come from, as long as they come from heaven to earth, they're considered Anunnaki. This particular group, though, these Atlanteans, they're well documented here. And they left behind a lot of evidence in architectural motifs and megalithic structures. And they also left behind a lot of text for us to read. And so to me, that's a lot of evidence. And the evidence for me is leading to a major, major situation, which we're going to cover today. Here I'm standing inside of the Temple of Abydos. And in this Temple of Abydos, in the ceiling, there are hieroglyphs. And I assure you, these hieroglyphs have never been touched. The homegrown archaeologist, homegrown guide that I went out there with said that the mainstream commercialized guides are told by the Board of Tourism that they're supposed to say that these hieroglyphs were retouched, and that's why they look like technology. These hieroglyphs are even clear from my perspective standing there, have never been touched. They swear that they have never been touched, and everybody in Egypt who lives there knows that they haven't been touched, and that this wasn't the only place that these glyphs were located. They were located in multiple locations and in different writings. And I was fortunate enough to be able to see a lot of those and document those. So these technological hieroglyphs appear to be all over Egypt. It's pretty amazing stuff. Here I am at Ollantaytambo. I'm at the top of the mountain. This is one of the most amazing places in the world because there's an actual fortress at the top of this mountain. And the fortress has megalithic stones, and those megalithic stones, which aren't in this particular photo, were taken from another mountain about, almost a couple hundred miles away by the time you tally up how far you have to travel to get up there to quarry them. It's really amazing stuff, how they go up and down mountains with, 5-ton stones and so forth, 1,000-ton stones as well. This is Machu Picchu. What an amazing place this is. I was fortunate enough to hike up Machu Picchu, and this place truly is a place of the gods. It's an amazing place where there's evidence to me of terraforming, like this gigantic face in the background looking up at the sky. You can just, from this angle, you can only see the nose and maybe the forehead. But from another angle, you'll be able to see it's an entire face looking up at the sky. And that is a super massive mountain that was completely terraformed using some type of advanced technology. And there's some amazing places there. If you've never been to Machu Picchu, I really recommend it, but make sure you're in shape before you go. because the oxygen there is extremely thin, and some people could not make the hike. They had to stop. Here I am at Sacsayhuaman. This is my guide. He's a homegrown guide. His name is Elvis. I always get homegrown guides. Yes, his real name is Elvis, by the way. That's what his mom named him. She must have been a fan. But he was born and grew up there. His uncle is a sage. He's he's friends with witch doctors. I mean, this is like a real guide. This is what I consider to be a real guide. Behind these stones that I'm standing in front of, there's even hidden gold, which is why the military guards this area night and day as well. Here I am over here at Ta Prohm in Angkor Wat in Cambodia. That went too fast. I had a great time in Cambodia. Cambodia is an amazing place. I hiked 37 miles in the jungles of Cambodia. And that was with 100% humidity and 120 degree heat every single day, okay, for 7 days straight. What an amazing trip it was. It was phenomenal. And I got to see something really interesting here, which, let me move this out the way. Dinosaurs etched into stone, proving that dinosaurs did walk with man at one particular time. Yes, a large amount of them were wiped out by some type of a nuclear event. And I do mean nuclear because when you go to the museums, you discover that the bones of the dinosaurs are painted with lead paint. And the reason why they're painted with lead paint is to keep the radiation from coming out. Because the radiation in most dinosaur bones is 2 to 3 times higher than the background radiation. What could cause that? Well, weapons signature can cause that. So weapons definitely took out the majority of the dinosaurs. However, some did survive, and human beings lived amongst them and documented them, not only here in Cambodia, but in many other places around the world, including the henge that was discovered in the Lake Michigan in the United States. There's also Göbekli Tepe, which has these giant stone pillars etched with dinosaurs in them in Turkey and similar for Turkey. So all over the planet, you'll find that human beings had seen, witnessed, and interacted directly with dinosaurs. Here I am at Akrotiri in Greece. This is a huge dig site. You can't even see the full dig site from this angle. But the reason why it was so amazing, this is one of the very last digs on an ancient Atlantean site. This is one of the cities of Atlantis in Akrotiri that you can actually go to and see the dig live, and you can see technology right there on the spot. Toilets on the second story that flush, a complete plumbing system running through the entire city before it got covered by ash from a volcano. You can see technology where they have 2 and 3 meter blocks, but there's like 4 millimeter with a 4 diameter hole going straight through from one side to the other. Okay, technology can do that, not chicken bones and copper sticks and copper chisels. So it's really amazing. And they had other areas where there was some intricate pieces that were there that I took photos of, and I did a whole blog about this and put all the photos up. A lot of technology in Akrotiri, Greece at this dig site, proving that these Atlantean people were very extreme and extremely talented and extremely technologically advanced. One of the amazing things about the toilet, not only was it on the second story, but it was able to flush, and it had a suction mechanism to suction out any smells to the outside. So this toilet in a lot of ways was probably better than toilets we have today. I think there's a lot of places that can utilize that technology right now. Here I am at the top of, I'm standing on top of the Pyramid of the Moon, and behind me is the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, Mexico. I think that was back in 2014. This is, again, another pyramid of the great Atlantean, Thoth, T-H-O-T-H. You can call him Thoth, Thoth. I call him Thoth. He's also known as Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, Viracocha, Lord Pakal, many, many names, of course, in Mesoamerica. He was a Teotihuacan. He founded the Teotihuacan civilization and built the pyramid I'm standing on for his wife. The one behind me is a copy of the one that he built in Giza, and it is exactly 50% the height, identical on the base, and also built on top of an aquifer, because the one behind me, the Pyramid of the Sun, is a power generation device as well, just like the one at Giza in Egypt. And what's amazing is these pyramids here in Teotihuacan are perfectly aligned with the Orion, just like the ones in Giza as well. And here I am standing in front of the giant Kukulcan pyramid. And this pyramid is basically a calendar. It's a giant calendar. This is not a power generator. This one is a calendar made for keeping celestial time and annual time and rotations around the sun down in the Yucatan Peninsula. So I'd like to give a quick shout out before I get into this to my admins on Anunnaki history, because they do a lot of hard work for me and my groups. Some of you may or may not know, but I have a lot of groups and a lot of pages and a lot of Instagram accounts, a lot of social media accounts in general. In total, I have 139 social media accounts across all platforms. And this particular group, Anunnaki History, is one of my largest online groups on Facebook. And these are the admins for that group: Dawn Jensen, Alex Teplish, Thomas Mikey Jensen Schroeder, James Tracy, Nikki Rayner, Tone Bone, Dolly Thomas. Well, some of them are duplicates. We have the same admin twice in there: Ed Parker, Bianca, Dominic Joyce, of course myself, Tina Salt, Bianca, JJ Ainsworth, and Renee Molinari. I want to thank them very much for their contribution to help me run and manage Anunnaki History on Facebook. Our story today is going to start off in the Pleiadian star system. Now, the Pleiades is mentioned in a lot of text. It's well-known, well-documented area of the sky where you'll see the seven sisters is what they're called in the biblical text. They're called, the Pleiades. Homer's Iliad is mentioned the Pleiades. And these stars, from our perspective on Earth, it appears to be seven bright stars, but in reality, it's many more stars than that. Now, these stars have planets, and those planets have life. And those planets also have moons, and some of those moons that orbit those planets have life as well. This is a very active part of the sky that is a really amazing part of our ancient history, because our progenitors come from here, come from there. We literally come from the Pleiades. So the Pleiades, or Pleiades, however you want to call it, when you really dig into them and research them, you start to discover that there was an ancient galactic war millions of years ago in that sector of the galaxy. And what's also interesting is the fact that these people became space refugees and spread out all around, different regions of space, and eventually seeded some planets with life. And we're going to find out the whole story today, and we're also going to find out where we came from as well. So like I was saying, there was a galactic war in the Pleiades. Now, this galactic war was something you would see in Star Wars, literally. Like, it was really a Star Wars battle. Planetary destroyers, Death Stars, people being blown up and killed in space, the Lyrians versus the Syrians. It was massive. It was an emperor, it was an empire. It was just like Star Wars, which leads me to believe that the makers of Star Wars, George Lucas in particular, read a couple of texts. One was the Terra Papers, which reads just like his movies, and also, which is an indigenous Indian epic. And then also the second would be the Enuma Elish, which I think he got a lot of information from as well, which we're going to touch on the Enuma Elish today in depth, okay, as we go into other texts as well. But I really do believe that there was a galactic war that started in the Pleiadian star system and then made its way across the galaxy. A lot of information for what I'm talking about with the Pleiades having a galactic war and different species fighting each other from different planets and planetary destroyers and Death Stars and space refugees and all of that. A lot of the research can be found from Burnham's Celestial Handbook, Star Names, Their Lore and Meaning, Star Lore of All Ages, Star Tales, The Age of Fable, The Greek Myths, The Reader's Encyclopedia, 2E, American Heritage Dictionary, Fundamentals of Physics. So that's where I get my theory of an ancient galactic war, combining all that information together and helping to paint a picture in my own mind with my own discernment, and then now sharing it with everyone else. The space refugees, when they fled that region, some went to this star system called Sirius, which is a trinary star system. means it's got 3 suns, okay? A, B, and C, the Sirius star system. You can only see mostly A from perspective on Earth because of the brightness of A, but B is a failed star, in other words, ran out of fuel, and C is there as well, so it's a trinary. Then you have Orion's belt, which of course a lot of people here on Earth are very familiar with Orion's belt. And Orion's belt is attributed to or owned by Osiris, the ancient Egyptian god Osiris, who really predates Egypt by probably 100,000 years. And he predates the Kemetic region, the Kemetic names, by probably another 100,000 years. He was one of the very first to come here in super antiquity. I mean, super antiquity, about 450,000 years ago, and helped to establish civilization on this planet from his race of people from his planet. Now, he was attributed to Orion's belt, the Orion. And what's interesting is a lot of these ancient gods who were kings and rulers had star systems and planets and moons attributed to them because they actually owned them. People actually owned these planets and moons and star systems and constellations. In particular, Osiris owned the Orion's belt, which means that he was the king not only of where he was here when he was here, but he was also a king of another star system entirely. Some made it over to Aldebaran, Hades, and the Pleiades. Of course, some people still survived in that region of the sky as well. So we have people spread out all over the place as this galactic war took place. And when you blow up a planet will create a lot of debris, like our asteroid belt is an exploded planet, which we're going to talk about today. And that debris will then flow through space and gravitationally be connected to other planets and moons, hit them, collide with them, and cause those planets and moons to also sometimes explode or create so much debris that it destroys those planets and moons. And so people had to start fleeing. That's how you get space refugees. They're fleeing for their lives, literally, when that situation happened. And that region of space was so messy for such a long period of time. The only way to survive, the best way to survive, was to just get the heck out of there. And that's why people left. So today we're going to talk about so many different things. In particular, this is a planet that is mentioned in the Enuma Elish that has this particular orbit. It's actually a brown dwarf star. You can see in the lower left corner, this brown dwarf star has planets orbiting it, and it orbits our sun. So today I'm going to show you not only about information about the Atlanteans and their texts and their megalithic structures and the anomalies that they left behind, and also I'm going to show you some space anomalies, but also this brown dwarf star. What's really interesting is that it orbits our sun, which means we live in a binary solar system. We live in a solar system with 2 suns, one dim sun that you can see with the infrared telescope, and the other one is our bright white sun that you can see. Some people think it's yellow, but the sun actually burns white. We get yellow because of fractals, but it is a white star. So we have our brown dwarf and we have our main sun, and they orbit each other in a binary system. And binaries are actually the norm, which we're finding out and we're learning more about.